Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is going to be earthquakes. I know it's not. I know it's not going to sound like that at first because I've got so many other things I've got to cover. I mean, things are just happening every place right now. But I got to cover these things, and then we're going to get to earthquakes. And I'm probably going to have to tell you, when I search through my prophecies, which is what the book God's Warnings for America is really containing for you. When I search through here I've got it open, let me just see, 273 pages or 199,000 words. Now, some of those repeated. So anyway, all of the good ones are in the book God's Warning to America. But anyway, back to that. So I searched and I found 80 different times where it's found in the prophecies. I'm not talking about Bible prophecies. I'm talking about the modern prophets. 80 different times the word earthquake or earthquakes is found. There's a lot about earthquakes, and we're going to be talking about them because I really think that's the time. Right now we're in the season of about to be hit with a very, very big nation-killing earthquake. Okay, so first of all, a little update. As you remember, there's 176,436 sealed indictments. Now, what I don't usually say is, but there's 20,711 unsealed, which is just about the correct number from what I understand from several different sources, has been arrested quite secretly. And there's been many people that are saying that some of them have already been sentenced, but I don't have enough evidence on that to say that's for certain, so I'll just pass that along. However, as confirmation that they have, I mean like probably 2 months ago, they started unsealing and arresting these people. But as confirmation of that, dated 7/2/2020, this is from the New York Post headline. Ghislaine Maxwell, longtime Jeffrey Epstein associate, arrested. So it goes on to say, the just unsealed indictment charges stem from Maxwell's role, quote, in the sexual exploitation and abuse of multiple girls by Jeffrey Epstein as early as 1994, court papers say. The victims were as young as 14 years old when they were groomed and abused by Maxwell and Epstein, both of whom knew that these certain victims were in fact under the age of 18, the indictment says. She is specifically accused of grooming 3 underage victims for sex with Epstein in places including, and then it goes on to list the places. Okay, the point is, I mean, this was like really big. When she gets arrested, that's telling us that, I think it's a confirmation that there's been other arrests, but they just haven't been public yet. And I think that we're all about to see that. And then we'll go on to the next thing. There's so many things happening here. Yes, there is a shortage of coins all across America. This is from krcgtv.com. Headline, Federal Reserve warns of temporary coin shortage. Now, I'm not going to read it because basically it's just saying, oh, well, it's due to the COVID crisis and our employees have not been working as much and they haven't been able to make as much coins. Baloney. Baloney. My opinion, they're rounding up the coins. Why? Because just like we've been saying, finalwakeupcall.info says that we're coming to a new financial system, the quantum financial system, based upon a quantum computer that is already hooked up, he says, for the last 2 years, and is connected to 11 satellites, and it's going to be a new system. Now, in my book, Miss the Mark, I talk about this. And I explain all the details about how, like every 2 weeks now, it was going to be every 2 months, but now they've increased it to every 2 weeks. They're putting up 160 different low Earth orbit satellites. And it's done by SpaceX. I'll give you all the details and miss the mark. And there's going to come a time, now we were thinking, at least I was thinking, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 years down the road, come a time when your cell phone is the chip that you carry, and your cell phone is your money, driver's license, it's your everything, and you will not be able to buy or sell without your smartphone. But now, apparently, what they're saying here in several different articles is it's not going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 years. It's about here. Possibly it could start as early as even this year. Now, let's get on to the whole point of the broadcast today, earthquakes. This came up because I see earthquakes weaved in with all of the other prophecies. It's like, here's a prophecy, here's an earthquake, a prophecy, an earthquake, prophecy, an earthquake. So if you want to understand when the other prophecies are coming to pass, one of the things we watch for is earthquakes. Why? Well, because sometimes we can see them ramping up. In other words, when we see a few earthquakes here or there, then it's pretty easy to assume that another big one is on the way. Well, that's what we've been actually seeing for the last 2 or 3 years. Some might even say 4 or 5 years. A lot of earthquakes. If you track all the earthquakes, they have increased drastically. But this particular one, I was just sent this brother, and he doesn't tell where he lives, but based upon his accent, it's not in the southern part of America. But he tells about a vision he had of an earthquake hitting New Orleans and going up. I believe he says northwest, but I believe that it's actually the northeast up towards the Great Lakes. So he's seen, this is a guy in another country, sees an earthquake hit New Orleans and run up the Mississippi River Valley. Here's him telling his vision.
Audio Bible, putting my son to sleep, and praying. And the Lord gave me a clear message of judgment. It wasn't in words, it was in an image, a moving image in a vision. I had my eyes closed the entire time, and the Lord gave me this image. It was the word New Orleans. It flashed 3 times. 1, 2, 3. New Orleans, New Orleans, New Orleans. And then the word exploded into pieces. And I was like, Lord, what does that even mean? How am I supposed to give that as a message? You know, who's going to understand that? Just a New Orleans, the word New Orleans exploding. It came back again. New Orleans, New Orleans, New Orleans. And then a ram, a horned sheep, headbutting the word New Orleans, and then it exploded. And I'm like, Lord, this is still doesn't make any sense to me. Can you please give me more information? So he gave me it again. It was New Orleans, New Orleans, New Orleans. The ram came, buttered the word exploded. A picture of the United States came up like this, and a big crack from New Orleans went right the way up on a diagonal. So it'll be New Orleans is east, isn't it? So east, so southeast, all the way across the country to northwest, right the way across. And the country split in two, and then like this. I started praying in tongues at this bit in the spirit. So I'm actually praying in tongues in the spirit. The Holy Spirit just completely descended upon me. I was roasting hot. I was all tingly. And I said, okay, Lord, if you want me to pass this message on, and it is 100% from you, have my son fall asleep at the end of this chapter. My son went out like that. Halfway through the chapter, he was out like a light. Proper, I mean, out cold, fast asleep.
Now, if you caught that, he actually had that vision 3 different times. The Bible says, in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let a thing be established. So I think that vision, that brother, I think he's right on. Now let's go on to some other things. You recall that on January 22nd, 2006, Leslie was spoken to. I've said it many times. I'll continue saying it because I believe that this is going to be part of turning America to listen to Dimitri's message, to fill the sports stadiums. So when these things start coming to pass, I'm asking you to remember them. I'm asking you to contact all of the people you know and say, look, you got to turn over here and listen to this guy at the Prophecy Club, because he's been talking about these, well, actually since 2002. So for the last 18 years, I've been telling people these particular set of prophecies are coming, specifically this set since 2006. So I'll refresh your memory. You've heard it before. Omer ushers in Palestinian state. Here's the one that I suspect is an earthquake. Catastrophe hits America. That could be the suitcase nukes. That could be some kind of a financial disaster, an internal, I don't know. But my best guess is probably an earthquake. Catastrophe hits America. One of America's greatest times of need. Israel refuses help to America. Israel has attacked America, sends troops. Chaos reigns as Americans protest help to Israel. Then she heard my voice. The fall of America will start with an internal revolution. Now keep that in mind. Let's go to the next one. This comes very startling. Also from my book, Miss the Mark. It's Ken Peters. This is the guy that had the dream like 45 years ago when he was called to be a prophet. And it is amazing. And probably it's one of the most popular things out on the internet right now. And you can listen to the whole thing at watchprophecyclub.com. Okay, anyway, he says, on my way in to make a business transaction, there was an earthquake while I was going into the bank. I was just entering the bank. Across the street from the bank was a tall 7-story triangle-looking building. This earthquake hit and began to shake this glass building, and it fell over, killing about 200 people. This earthquake was massive. Now let's skip down. Very unusual things began to happen immediately after the earthquake. Crops began to perish. There were droughts and famines. I was able to see all over the globe. The most fertile farming areas were totally destroyed with drought and famine. Places that were once fertile are now arid deserts. Weather seemed to have its own mind. This weather was manipulated by the earth being shook from its axis. How do I know that? I was above it. I saw it shaking. I saw the whole earth rocking around. Now listen to this. Right about that time this earthquake hit, very unusual things began happening with the laws. I began to see local municipalities no longer having police departments. You heard that right. Let me read that again. Right about the time of the earthquake, I saw very unusual things happening to the laws. I began to see local municipalities no longer having police departments. Military police were driving very unusual-looking vehicles. Now I know that they're called Humvees. These vehicles I saw were black and were just about on every corner and main thoroughfare. What did Pastor Dana just say? What have we been talking about? All of this, brothers and sisters, is at the door. It is no longer coming. It is now in the progress of being fulfilled. Now, let's go on to what else he says. The back was removed, and men were standing in the back wearing black uniforms and blue ball caps. What did Pastor Dana just say he saw? He said he saw blue caps on some of the people that were involved in quelling the disorder. Blue ball caps, blue helmets. I later learned that in 1980, there were no blue helmets or blue ball caps worn by any military on Earth. Today, we know them as the United Nations troops that wear blue helmets. There was a big radio antenna or some sort of device in the back of the Humvee. On the other side of the back, there was a flag. It looked like this guy standing in back had a big gun. He had what I now know to be a laptop on the dash. Okay, now this was 45 years ago. He was seeing a laptop. He didn't know what a laptop was. This is confirmed. Let's go on. They could look at this computer and get all sorts of information. They were very peaceful. They were not rude. They were not mean to people. They were not obnoxious. I didn't see any looters or anybody getting shot or anything like that. They seemed to be peaceful. You could not cross state lines without papers. What are they just saying now? They're saying that some of the states, due to COVID, might start closing their borders. Wow. This is no longer coming. This has arrived, my brothers and sisters. I saw streetlight stands with little oval-shaped cameras on top of them, which knew the whereabouts of everyone's vehicles. Yeah, if you'll look up, they're there. But remember, this was 45 years ago. This is before we had computers. This is before we had laptops. This is before we had cameras at the top of every one of the street lights out there. Let's go on. All nations, again, this is in Miss the Mark. You can get your own copy in that book. All nations of the world became as one. What are they doing? This new financial system is a global financial system. What is the Pope talking about? He's talking about having a meeting this coming August, I believe it was, might be September, in which he is calling for a world religion. It's here. The new world order, the world government, the tribulation is here. Do not be surprised to see the next trumpets, next one of the feast days, all of a sudden that trumpet blows, the ground explodes, and we are in the tribulation. And when the Lamb opened one of the seals, I heard, as it were, the noise of thunder. Ken Peters said it sounded like a 1970s car horn, but let's go on. You cannot cross state lines without papers. I saw the streetlight stands with little oval-shaped cameras on top of them, which knew the whereabouts of everybody's vehicles. The changes took place almost instantly, with complete ease. There was peaceful martial law. Military vehicles were everywhere. They knew everyone's whereabouts. I found out how they knew this. All nations of the world became as one. There were no longer any sovereign individual nations. Continents were no longer divided into countries, but were divided into regions. Television sets not only played and received broadcasts, but also returned signals showing what we were doing in our homes. Televisions were watching people in homes, monitoring their movements, conversations. The television did not need to even be turned on, just plugged in. Later, I found out that televisions made ever since 1992 can, in fact, watch you. The global order had no presence of God in it whatsoever. Again, miss the mark, and you can get the whole story. But we're talking about earthquakes. So now let's go on to Neville Johnson. He had this vision back in 2014. He said, a heavenly visitor entered my room at 6:30 and said, write this down. I immediately recognized this visitor, having had a number of encounters with him in the past. He emphasized the words, all nations, and desire. I knew that every nation in the world was about to be shaken in a very real way. His emphasis on the word desire, yes, I did skip part of it, was in relationship to wealth and precious things. He then quoted the following scriptures, which I'll skip. The emphasis on the passage of Scripture was the phrase consuming fire. He spoke about the shaking that will also release a baptism of fire on those in the church who are pursuing the Lord and seeking His purity in their lives. I'm going to say again, brothers and sisters, I think there's a high probability that at these sevenfold miracle crusades, Crusade A, July 29 to August 2, Crusade B, August 2 to 6, very well, we could see sevenfold miracles at these crusades. Why? Because right now Israel is pushing to annex part of the West Bank, and God may consider that as America splitting Israel. That could happen in the next week, and then within a week after that, this big earthquake I'm talking about, this might not be 2 or 3 years down the road. This earthquake might not be 2 or 3 months down the road. This earthquake might be 2 or 3 weeks down the road. I'm not setting a date. That's why I'm talking about it today, because in the spirit, I feel like we are very, very close to a lot of things happening, earthquakes only being one of them. Okay, so let's go on. Then a vision opened up in front of me, where I saw an angel holding what looked like a very fragile, large, ornate cup and saucer. This cup was very thin and fragile. Written on the cup were the words, the nation's economies. I then was able to see inside of the cup, and on the inside it was filthy. The angel then said, the economies of the world are like this cup, clean on the outside, but filthy on the inside. I then heard a crack, and the cup began to crack and quickly fall apart into pieces. Now hang on. See, part of the QFS, the quantum financial system, part of setting up this new global financial system that they're in the progress of setting up, according to finalwakeupcall.info, they are changing everything, changing the way the whole kind of money we use. How is the reason that's they're collecting all the coins? Okay, so it's all in the process, my brothers and sisters. So says finalwakeupcall.info. And part of that is going to be a lot of people hurting. Financially, a lot of people are about to be hurting. Let's go on. The scene changed. The angel was holding a large man upside down by his leg. He began shaking this man violently, up and down, a movement. As I watched, all kinds of things began falling out of the man's pockets. This is the good news. Such things as gold, silver, inventions which seemed to be in connection with energy, as well as inventions that were cures for certain diseases, falling out of the man's pockets. Cures for such things as cancer, diabetes, asthma, Alzheimer's disease, and many other diseases. The cures for these diseases already exist, but have been hidden by pharmaceutical companies. No. We trust those pharmaceutical companies. That's why we go down and get all of those shots, those vaccinations. Not. This boy's not going to have another vaccination. They're not putting a needle into my skin. I don't trust them. And by the way, I'm not going to take any kind of a COVID test either. I don't know if you've heard, but many of the COVID tests came back with a false positive, and people that were not sick, that had the COVID tests, then came down sick. Well, my conspiratorial mind says that probably the COVID test itself was contaminated, and many reports have said that, and is actually giving them the COVID. Yeah, no, I don't trust the pharmaceutical companies. Anyway, this giant represented the world and the financial systems of the world. As I watched this unfold, this angel again shouted the words, shake, exposure, transfer. As he said this, I felt the earth under me shake like a tremor. At this point, I heard the Lord speak, one more time, I will shake the heavens and the earth. There is no more time. It will start to unfold now. It will start first in the church, hear that, first in the church, then in the nations. Which means, of all the 198 nations in the world, which one do you think that God looks upon as his church? Israel? No. Very few Christians there. Germany? No. It would be America. Which means the judgment for the world starts in the church. It starts in America, and that's what we're seeing now. For the time has come that the judgment began at the house of God, so says 1 Peter 4:17. Then he said, I saw Japan being shaken by volcanoes and earthquakes in a way that repercussions went around the world. I saw upheavals in Thailand. Now listen to this. I saw China taking a much firmer grip on Hong Kong. There would be clashes in the South China Sea. Have we not seen problems in Hong Kong and problems in the South China Sea? Both of them. Many of these things we're talking about, it's already happened or we're already in the early throes of it happening. I mean, just last night on the 6 o'clock news, I guess it's 5 o'clock news, they were talking about Hong Kong, about how they passed a new law and now they're just taking over Hong Kong and arresting people. And there's already been several reports about the South China Sea. In the USA, a great shaking will occur with the present administration. Now remember, this is 2014. However, you also remember that these whole judgments, many of them have been delayed. So don't think this is all past. I think it's still coming. 2015 will see events in government occur which will cause a shaking in the USA that has never been seen before. That's my opinion happening right now. The government will be in turmoil and change will be forced upon the nation. There you go. What are we seeing? Seeds of revival will begin to sprout in the UK and in the midst of the turmoil. That's good news. The present Pope will continue to rise in influence. I saw him addressing the UN. His emphasis was on peace and tolerance. This began to lay the foundations for the rise of the false world church, which grew in power and political influence, framing legislation that will ban any religion that is not part of this false world church. Well, again, the Pope is supposed to be having his big meeting here either August or September. Okay, let me go through a little bit more of the exact things we're going to be doing at the crusade. First of all, there's 2 crusades. My understanding is the Crusade A, July 29 to August 2, is full. There are still available spots August 2 to 6. You go to sevenfoldmiraclecrusades.com to register. Still available August 2 to 6, sevenfoldmiraclecrusades.com. So we ask everyone to fast 3 consecutive days, not required, but most people do. So that's the first thing. Try to imagine being in a room of prophecy students that have just fasted 3 days that understand about the fall of America, the sevenfold miracle is coming, and that they need to teach Bible prophecy. That is already powerful. We suggest you stay at the Hyatt, not another hotel, and also get the meal package. Some of the things you're going to get there, I'm going through a quick list. You're going to be able to get a personal prophecy from Prophet Andre Bronkhorst. You're going to get to go to a welcome dinner where I'm going to be talking about the pre-trib rapture afterwards. Then Leslie, the next day, is going to teach on School of the Prophets, baptism in the Holy Spirit, and she's going to be anointing people with honor oil and various prayer positions. That same day, Pastor Lou and Prophet Sunhee are going to be talking on corporate deliverance. And if you've ever had anything bad happen to you, trust me, we have. We all need to go through that. Leslie is also going to be teaching on School of the Prophets, Fruits of the Spirit, that day. Then the next day, this is the second full day, Leslie's going to be teaching School of the Prophets, Gifts of the Spirit, More Activation Deliverance Training, and Prophecy and Healing, School of the Prophets. The next day, I'm going to be talking on Secret Door to Understand Prophecies and the Charts, 2 different talks. That's where I teach you how to understand Bible prophecy. And then the final talk, I will be talking on Miss the Mark, and we're going to be giving out diplomas and certificates for graduation. So you do want to go. You go to sevenfoldmiraclecrusades.com, get signed up for the crusade, and stay at the Hyatt and get the meal package. sevenfoldmiraclecrusades.com. So try to imagine you're in a room of prophecy students, fasted 3 days, everyone got filled with the Spirit and water baptized, gone through 3 days of School of the Prophets, 2 days of prophetic training, 2 days of me teaching you how to teach Bible prophecy. All in a very, very powerful format you do not want to miss. Go to sevenfoldmiraclecrusades.com before Hyatt raises the prices on the room rent. sevenfoldmiraclecrusades.com. In 2017, God blessed me by helping me to memorize the book of Revelation just as a simple project. God showed me a secret door, which is based upon a single word found in Revelation and Leviticus, linking the feasts to the prophecies. When linked, a person enters into an understanding of Bible prophecy not previously known. Even though I've been in the world of Bible prophecy for 40 years, frankly, I did not know anything of what is in this book. One prophetic word described it this way. There is a lock that I have put over a word in the book of Revelation that I'm going to open to you. It will turn so many books written on the end-time message into obsolete books. That's this book. 2 amazing prophecy charts on the back flap, 12 inches by 9 inches. Imagine a book on prophecy that brings a fresh, new, accurate perspective. I don't want you to get one book for $20. I want you to get 5 books for $30 or 10 for $55. It's called The Secret Door to Understand Bible Prophecy, available at prophecyclub.com. The Secret Door to Understand Bible Prophecy. 1 for $20. No, don't do that. You want to get 5 for $30 or the best deal, 10 for $55. prophecyclub.com. What would you do if you had to tell a person the most important information in the world, but you knew they wouldn't believe you? Would you tell them? Well, most would. So what is the most important information in the world to all people, nations, and languages? The most important thing to do is to receive Jesus. But the most important thing not to do is don't take the mark of the beast, because those taking the mark of the beast do not get soul death, but are eternally tormented in hell. Revelation 14:11 says, "The smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest day or night who worship the beast in his image, or whosoever receiveth the mark of his name." But how do you tell them? Give them the book, Miss the Mark. If they'll read this simple, thin, easy-to-read book, they will never take the mark of the beast. 1 for $20, but don't do that. We offer them in shrink-wrap sets of 10 to give away. 1 set of 10 for $30, 2 sets $45, 4 sets $70 at prophecyclub.com. Miss the Mark at prophecyclub.com. Miss the Mark at prophecyclub.com. As you know, I make many broadcasts referring to a list of dreams, visions, audible voices I believe are from God, given to Dimitri Duduman, Michael Boldea, Leslie Johnson, Henry Groover, Shane Warren, Terry Bennett, Maurice Sklar, Augusto Perez, Doug Metzger, Bree Keaton, and more. Now you can have your very own copy. It's called God's Warnings to America. 1 for $20, 5 for $30, 10 for $55 at prophecyclub.com. God's Warnings to America at prophecyclub.com. Emergency food is almost sold out everywhere. However, because of our relationship with heavensharvest.com, they have made an entire truckload available to Prophecy Club in a few weeks, where others are totally out or waiting for months. They have all sorts of emergency supplies and food at heavensharvest.com. Their food comes in square stackable buckets, breakfast, entree, protein, fruits and vegetables. heavensharvest.com makes it easy to order. I recommend you have at least 12 months of food for each person in your family. Receive a free box of heirloom seeds when you enter the promo code STAN. That's heavensharvest.com, promo code STAN. heavensharvest.com, promo code STAN. When a nuclear device is detonated, the wind blows the dust settling on everything around you. Then you breathe, eat, or absorb radioactive iodine, which then kills your thyroid and kills you. A simple fix is to immediately take potassium iodate pills, which flood your thyroid with good iodine, keeping the radioactive iodine out. You need 1 bottle per person per exposure for everyone from infant to adult. 10 bottles available for a gift of $225 or $25 per bottle at prophecyclub.com. Shelf life from 5 to 8 years, potentially more if you refrigerate or freeze it. That's prophecyclub.com, potassium iodate pills.